Boruto episode 88 review. Alright, now there is a lot of stuff to unpack about this episode. One of the biggest parts about this episode was actually not even the episode, it was the opening, the new opening that was actually released this week. It was amazing. A lot of people do love it. I will make a dedicated video about the opening, so I do want you guys to keep an eye out for that. There was a lot of stuff, not necessarily a lot of stuff, but there was some definitely interesting stuff in the ending that I do want to talk about, and hopefully you guys can stick around for that. But going into the actual episode now, this episode was a great episode. It was a phenomenal episode. I do want to say the animation wasn't anything too crazy like how it was in the last episode of Boruto, but this episode was definitely top tier in terms of writing, script writing, and all of that. Now, the biggest part about this episode was Kokuyou fighting Ino-Shika-Cho. Now, of course, we already know that Ino-Shika-Cho has basically been a legendary team trio. The trio that we grew up watching was Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji. And of course, in this generation, we have Ino, Jin, Chocho, and also Shikadai. Now, in terms of teamwork, we already understood that they probably wouldn't be the best in terms of working together. But I feel like over the last couple of episodes, over the last couple of arcs, I should say, we've been seeing them gel together and basically fight like how we expect them to fight in terms of all the cohesion and chemistry, all working together at the same time. And I really love that. One of the biggest parts about this episode was Inojin finally showing us that he knows how to use mind transfer. I think everybody here already talks about Inojin possibly learning mind transfer, possibly taking it to like the next level, or Inojin possibly combining the mind transfer with the Super Beast Scroll Jutsu, which there's just a whole lot of possibilities in that. But of course, the first step was him actually knowing how to use the mind transfer jutsu. He finally showed it to us, which was amazing. I didn't think that they would pull it out right here. I didn't think it would be right here, right now. But of course, this was a very much needed surprise, and a lot of people did want to see that. Now, in terms of Chocho and Shikadai, we didn't necessarily see anything new from them. We do understand that Shikadai is probably one of the strongest, I shouldn't say strongest, but he's one of the best getting at this point. Of course, Chocho is Chocho. You're gonna get what you get with Chocho. Now, of course, one of the most emotional parts about this episode was my man Zakun, man. R.I.P. my man Zakun. Like, it was crazy, man, because during the first stages of this arc, we automatically thought like, yo, Akun was just this annoying Akun and no one really cares about him. Why is he getting so much TV time? But now in this episode, it's like, yo, we really miss Akun. You've seen Inojin crying. You've seen how Akun died. He was basically rubbing Inojin's face. He said Inojin and he just crumbled in Inojin's hands. And I ain't gonna lie to you, man, I ain't cry because I'm a thug. Let's get that out the way. But it did make me feel some type of way, even though I didn't like the character at all. I'm like, yo, what is this Akun guy? Like, he makes no sense to the overall plot of this whole arc. But in this episode, man, I really did feel for Akun. I didn't think they had to do my man's Akun like that, but I loved how they did implement that. And of course, without Akun, Ino-Shika-Cho would probably be no more at this point, because Kokuyou, he's pretty strong. Like, I really love the character of Kokuyou, and especially since the fact that he doesn't necessarily know how to use any jutsu. Of course, when we talk about the other two, when we talk about Karawa, when we talk about Seki, and even when we talk about Kako, even though he's still dead, they know how to use jutsus. They basically know how to use multiple things to help them do what they want to do. Of course, when you talk about dust release particle style, it's very overpowered, a Kage level jutsu. But this guy Kokuyou, it's like he pretty much did everything by himself. I mean, in terms of like a taijutsu standpoint, of course you get that sense like, hey, this guy really reminds me of like a Rock Lee or like a Might Guy, and I really wanted to see Metal Lee possibly go head to head with this guy. It would just be a taijutsu battle, but I do understand like, hey, Metal Lee wasn't part of this arc, so that probably wouldn't happen. But I did like the character of Kokuyou. I feel like he was probably the most grown and the most adult character out of all the synthetic human beings. Lord Ku is definitely mature as well, but I feel like Kokuyou is probably the most mature out of all the other ones, and it was kind of a little bit crazy in him because he didn't necessarily have any ninjutsu, and he was probably arguably one of the strongest ones when you do exclude Lord Ku. Now, going forward and other things that we did see in this episode, one of the biggest part was the betrayal of Lord Ku with Inoki. Now, I did hear about this in the spoilers. We did understand that this was coming, and I kind of called it before, man, because it was like, hey, Inoki is not going to agree to the synthetic human being and let them kill 5 shinobis just to clone their heart. It would make no sense. It would be counterintuitive to what they're actually trying to do. But in a big scheme of things, let's be honest, that would probably be more help to Inoki. But Inoki said no. And as I said, at the end of the day, they're probably going to betray Inoki because it's like he's just leaving them there to die. And I think that's exactly what Lord Ku said. Lord Ku pulled out his hand. You've seen his hand crack, and of course a piece cracked off of his hand. And it was crazy, man, because it seemed like Inoki just didn't care. And of course, to the synthetic human beings, they have a heart. It really hurt Lord Ku's feelings for his master, his father, to say, hey, I don't care if you die. Now, the other part about this episode is the fact that Mitsuki caught up to Konohamaru. Now, in the last episode, we didn't necessarily get to see Konohamaru. In the past couple episodes, in fact, we didn't see much of Konohamaru, but it looks like it's going to be heating up very soon. And of course, Mitsuki actually seeing Konohamaru. Now, at this point, we don't necessarily know if Mitsuki knows that that is exactly Konohamaru, but I'm pretty sure Mitsuki has an idea. Now, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Mitsuki probably understands that that's Konohamaru. The reason why I said that is because the last time Mitsuki did have a confrontation with a guy in a mask just like that, it was with Sumire. And it's like Mitsuki knew right off the bat that it was Sumire. Like, he didn't have to ask any questions. No one really thought it would be Sumire except for Mitsuki. So I feel like Mitsuki does have a knack for these things, and I feel like in the next episode we're definitely going to get to see some dialogue between Konohamaru and Mitsuki. Konohamaru is not going to necessarily reveal himself just yet. I feel like Konohamaru wants to know a little bit more information and possibly get out of the situation that he's in right now, because he doesn't really know if Mitsuki's on his side or if Mitsuki's on the side of the Hidden Stone Village. And the biggest part about this is the fact that, of course, Mitsuki's father killed Konohamaru's grandfather. You have to think, is Konohamaru going to lash out? Is Konohamaru going to lose his temper? And of course, if Konohamaru loses his temper, it's pretty much going to foil his whole plan and is going to set back Boruto and everybody else, mainly because they won't have that backup in the village for a very long time. So I feel like Konohamaru is going to have a very important part in the next coming episodes. I do have to say the spoilers didn't necessarily say anything about Konohamaru, so I don't really know exactly what's going to happen. But if I were to guess, I feel like Konohamaru would probably play this very cool. He probably wouldn't do anything too crazy, but I feel like Mitsuki would automatically know that that's Konohamaru. Now, the last thing that I do want to talk about is, of course, Boruto versus Sada, that we're probably going to get to see in the next episode of Boruto. Now, when I did read the spoilers, I thought it would probably be like a no holds barred. Karawa's just going to put them into a genjutsu and they were just going to fight it out. But it seems like Karawa's going to use them as her puppets. Now, I don't necessarily think this is a terrible idea, but I think it would probably be a better idea to just have Boruto and Sada to go all out and try to kill each other, mainly because it would probably be a great stepping stone, or it would probably be a great measuring stick to see how strong Boruto and Sada are in terms of who is stronger and who's weaker. But I feel like this right here, it could definitely be a little bit interesting as well. It's just, I really would have preferred the other way, but I'm definitely looking forward to that in the future, and I will talk about more about that in my next video. Of course, I do have the spoiler review coming up tomorrow. I do want to know what you guys think about this in the comment section below, man. Give me your thoughts about the homie Akun. How do you feel that Akun died? Are you glad to see him gone, or did you feel a little bit emotional? And not only that, one of the biggest parts about this episode, how do you guys feel about the betrayal of Lord Ku, and also Konohamaru finally meeting with Mitsuki? Do you guys think that Konohamaru's gonna lash out on Mitsuki and probably try to kill Mitsuki, or what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with my notion about Konohamaru and Mitsuki? But it's been your boy Barby, and we out.
It's a knife.
Check my clock, I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols. Reaming my body, clothing no issue. Bitch, you look sick, you need a tissue. You drop a body, I just might bless you. I'm metrosexual, no high cholesterol. Where's Jenny Craig? Bitch, just get sexual.